What's up guys, Jam here. Today we'll be covering the Emilia Camp's Great Evaluation Meeting side story. This side story will be safe for anime onlys. With that being said, let's get right into the side story. We open with Anne Rose upset at Roswell. "You're as selfish as ever, uncle. I do apologize for the trouble I'm causing you, Anne Rose. However, it was not necessary for you to go as far as to come to the sanctuary personally. The journey must have been difficult. If I had not come here personally, just who in the world would have given you a proper scolding? Seriously. It's because everyone else keeps spoiling you that you've ended up with such a bothersome attitude. You're already a grown man, so do be sure to reflect on this. My, it would seem that I'm always disgracing myself before you. But I suppose you are correct. My apologies." Roswell lowers his head to Anne Rose. "What's this now? For you to sincerely apologize, did you perhaps hit your head somewhere?" "It wasn't exactly my head, but the sides of my face have received quite the magnificent pummeling among other areas." "What? Uncle's face? Just who exactly would have the nerve?" Roswell points to Garfield. "It was him. It was a truly tremendous blow. I was blown right through the building." "What is this? I shall have a few words with him." Anne Rose confronts Garfield. "You, to think that you actually beat up my uncle, it must have been a sight worth seeing. Should uncle ever try to hassle you about it, just report it to me. I shall be your ally. I am known as Anne Rose Millode. I was born into a branch of my uncle's Mathers family. I suppose you could say he's a relative of sorts. I am pleased to meet you." Subaru finds it hard to believe that Anne Rose is related to Roswell. Otto warns Subaru that Roswell is not a good example of nobility, as he is very strange. Well, I suppose that's true. Even back at the castle, most of those nobles were basically what you would expect. And right at that moment, showing up with immaculate timing was we who had made preparations in advance under the master's orders. Frightful. What? The young blue-haired man who had scared them bowed to them. That was rude of me. The blue-haired man had a monocle over his left eye and wore a black butler outfit. You are... "I am Clint, a steward working under Anne Rose. I was previously in the master's, in Roswell's L. Mather's employ, as a steward, obviously. Audacious. A steward. It seems to me that's the highest position among butlers and maids and stuff." "Yes, that is correct. Sagacious. Excuse me, Clint. I believe you said something along the lines of preparing in advance. Master had contacted us beforehand. You are Otto Suin, the Minister of Internal Affairs, is that not so? I have already heard the details. Capable. Although I was barely involved in that decision, so I can't really accept it. Thanks to which we can unravel at least one part of the spell that binds the Master. Thankful. What was that just now? Is it not about time you felt hungry? I was asking if you would like to dine. Repetition. No, that definitely wasn't it. I get the feeling that you were saying something really important." Clint sighs and gives no signs that he would answer Subaru's questions. "You're at it again. Teasing others like that is a real bad habit of yours. You ought to keep it in check, Clint." "Frederica, you know this guy?" "Wait, that's obvious." Frederica nods and sighs. "Unfortunately, I have known him for quite some time. Because he has been in Roswell's employ for a long time, I too was in his care when I first started. For a senior you've known for such a long time, you're rather bitter towards him." "I suppose so. While I do acknowledge that he certainly possesses ability befitting a steward, this man is deeply flawed in ways that cannot compensate for. In particular..." Before she could even start listing reasons, she is interrupted by Petra. "Big Sister Frederica, the villagers have all gathered in the clearing. What shall we do now?" "Petra, you can't. Don't come here right now." "What?" Petra was very confused as she just came for her next instructions. Frederica's face goes pale as it was already too late. Clint approaches Petra and looks down at her. Clint nods before speaking. "I see. This girl's present looks promising. Gold star. Present? Not my future?" "Yes, your present. You possess a spirit full of potential. Your value is at its peak at this very moment in your youthful state. Frederica was once the same as you, but just look at her now. Disappointing. Get a hold of yourself, you damn pervert." Frederica attempts to kick Clint, but unlike EDP 445, Clint is able to move and dodges the attack. Clint quickly moves behind Petra. "That's so low, you degenerate. Fight me head on." Frederica continues to attack Clint as he continues to dodge all of her attacks while keeping Petra in between them. Otto sighs and turns to Subaru. "I'll handle that somehow, so I think it would be best if you went to go see Emilia for now." "That would be a great help, but what do you mean by somehow?" "Somehow means somehow. I should be able to handle something of this level." Subaru smiles and begins patting Otto's back. "That hurts. What are you doing all of a sudden?" "Don't worry about it. I'm leaving the rest to you." Subaru ran out and made his way to the cemetery. There, Emilia was talking to Anne Rose on the stairs. "Subaru, you're late." What were you doing, I wonder? The first one to notice him was Beatrice, who was sitting on the stairs. Oh, sorry. I was just chatting with Otto and then got caught up in a weird typhoon. Bayako, there's this butler wearing a monocle. You have to stay away from him no matter what. What's with that? Just what is this butler going to do? Well, this and that. Please, Bayako. You're precious to me. I don't want you to get hurt. I understand, in fact. While Subaru was petting Beatrice's head, Ram called to him. She agrees that Clint is a weirdo and that surely he treated Rem the same way when they were younger. Subaru's chest began to ache. Rem's name and memories were still gone. This was a cold reminder of it. Subaru shakes his head and sighs. Well, anyway, we'll have to coexist with Clint somehow, so we'll be counting on you for that part, big sister. I suppose so. If I could mention just one thing, it would be that when it comes to the young, he does not care about gender. What exactly am I supposed to do having heard that? Subaru was then interrupted by Anne Rose. Hey you there, are you the Subaru Emily spoke of? I am, but why are you glaring at me with such hostility? The reason is completely obvious. You took advantage of the fact that Emily is so defenseless despite her cuteness to force a kiss on her. Can you take responsibility for that? Subaru was completely speechless and confused. Emilia, who was flustered, ran and grabbed Anne Rose's shoulder. You're wrong, Anne. He didn't force me at all. He even told me to move if I didn't want it. I wasn't the one who didn't move, so it was consensual. Wait, Emilia, that way of putting it makes it sound non-consensual. Also, Emily? What kind of relationship do you have with this kid? Emily is Emily. It is my pet name for her. Emilia and I refer to each other using pet names. That is the sort of close relationship we have. If you understand that, it's about time you got out of our way, you meddling insect. Wait, isn't it strange for us to be rivals in love? Emilia's the cutest girl in the world, you know. The two of us will raise the baby in her belly with love, so hurry up and get out of here, you homewrecker. Beatrice, who had enough, stands up for Subaru. I can't overlook what you just said. Did this brat dare say such a thing to Betty's Subaru, I wonder? Perhaps I should go ahead and shut that mouth of yours. A huge argument breaks out among the three. Emilia sighs before touching the crystal on her chest, where Puck was sleeping. This is really chaotic, but these people are precious to me. Emilia's whisper was not heard by anyone, but the magic crystal shined brightly for a moment, as if listening to his beloved daughter. And that sums up the Emilia Camp's Great Evaluation Meeting side story. It seems like this side story takes place right after the end of Season 2. We get our first introduction to Anne Rose and her butler Clint. While Anne Rose is funny with her massive misunderstandings, I'm not a huge fan of Clint because, you know, he's a fucking weirdo. He might be strong, but I'd rather not see him around. Aside from the two new characters, the Emilia faction is lively as ever. The banter is the same as always, and they're moving on from the events of the sanctuary. I look forward to seeing more of the main cast and the main story and future side stories. With that being said, thank you so much for the support as always. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a great day.